All right, Nick, we're at that portion of the program. You got to fly out to beautiful Dallas, Texas to cover SEC Media Days and Billy Napier. Give us your thoughts on the Wednesday that you were there.
Yeah, I thought Billy's, I guess the big quote of the day was that Billy Napier saying we're on schedule, which at face value, like someone's schedule, certainly not the Florida fan base's schedule. But I think what he meant by that is, and I think I brought this up before, like when Mike Norvell was hired at FSU, he had his own set of problems because it was COVID. And you can't really recruit during COVID. Billy gets hired, and 6 months later, the state of Florida allows NIL, and NCAA allows NIL, and then you have collectives and the transfer portal, and how does the NIL mix with the transfer portal? And he's trying to figure out and build a program while the rules aren't really – there's no sheriff in town, but Florida's still playing by rules that they're putting on themselves. And then the landscape keeps changing. So I get that, and I think his point was that their systems are in place, that they've recruited. I agree with him that this is the best roster they've had. I just think the delivery of the message when you're 11-14 saying train's on schedule, we'll meet you at the next stop, hop on, was received how I thought it would be received.
Yeah, he's quoted here saying, and we're going to talk about that here in a second, I love our team. I really like what I've observed. For the first time, we've got some stability. The roster's kind of stabilized. We've got some competitive depth. There's credible leadership at the player level, 17 starters coming back. We've got close to 41,000 snaps of experience. I've got confidence in what I've observed. I think some of the changes that we've made in the offseason have been impactful. The group's excited to play.
I like it, man, because he pretty much set the expectations. You know, if we're on schedule, he's got no excuses. When he first got the job, he kind of laid out to us that it was going to be a hard turnaround. It wasn't going to happen quick. We was going to have to be patient. Now he's saying that he's on schedule. So, you know, I used to tell my friends I'm right around the corner. And I was still getting dressed.
Dude, I had a friend of mine.
I hadn't even showered yet. Right around the corner.
Yeah, I didn't even iron my clothes.
Dude, I had a friend of mine, awesome dude, still a really good friend of mine. Man, he used to say I'm right around the corner. And this is like kind of when you had cell phones, but kind of not really, or you only had minutes like after 9. And buddy, I'd go like wait outside for him. He'd be like 45 minutes later, and he lived but 2.5 minutes away. Yeah. Oh man. Anyway,
right on schedule. Right on schedule though.
Yeah, right on schedule.
But I think he did set the tone for like expectations. I thought he had good energy. I thought he felt good. The energy I received watching it was he felt good about his roster. He felt good about the season, his whole situation. So it did make me feel a little better as a fan, but I still want to see the product and the results. But
yeah, if you didn't see the quote, here it is. It's long. Change doesn't happen overnight. I think ultimately timing is everything. When we took the job, what we inherited, the work that needed to be done, I think that we're on schedule to some degree. Should we have won a couple games down the stretch? Would I have liked to close some of those games out of the fourth quarter? Absolutely. The reality is, from a system standpoint, process standpoint, in-house, the culture, I think we've made tremendous progress. I do have a bone to pick about the systems and process perspective, but moving on, I think this offseason in particular, after observing things for 2 years, we've made some changes that I think have really made a difference in this team. I'm with our team every day. Ultimately, that's why I've got confidence. What do you guys think? Do you think they've learned from some of their mistakes this offseason? The Gators did hire an additional special teams coach. They made some additional hiring in the personnel department. They seem to go after and land some bigger targets in the transfer portal. What are your all's thoughts on, did you notice a big difference this offseason compared to the previous off seasons, or do we just have tunnel vision and short memories?
A little bit. I think you've seen that they've hit on some of the guys in the transfer portal. I think they were more active in the transfer portal each of the last 2 years. I don't think they really hit on portal guys last year. You're going to swing and miss on some. But Yeah, I think from a roster building standpoint, they've kind of figured out with Florida Victorious and donors and boosters and getting money. I think they've kind of figured that out. It's almost like an NFL system with a salary cap. They went and they studied all 32 teams, I think like a 5-year span of how they allocated money to what positions. And they tried to figure out how they can extrapolate that to college football and their needs. And you almost have to be like, hey, if we're spending this, we have $20 million to play with this year. How do we spend that? So I think you're getting almost a professional level front office organization at Florida. And I think especially when you start paying the guys and the schools can start paying them, that's going to be something every school has to do. So yeah, I think the systems, as Billy Napier would say, are certainly in a better place than they were now. But he also said our systems were in place before the 2023 season.
I think the biggest thing this offseason, just this is the first year he's going to have a quarterback that's coming back, your leader coming back back-to-back years. Yeah, Anthony Richardson, he bolts to the league. You bring in Graham Mertz last offseason, and it was, the players getting to know him and getting his leadership style, hearing his voice, chemistry, all that stuff, getting together. Graham Mertz sounds like a leader at the media days, man. Like, he sounds great. Love his energy. So I think that's the biggest thing. I want to see Graham take that leap. I think a lot of things, he dinked and dunked a lot last year. Billy on that as well about going vertical more and things like that. So I just like what I heard from that standpoint, from a leadership standpoint with Graham and him off-season wise. I think that could be the biggest thing team-wise for us. As far as off seasons, I don't know what the workouts and games looking like, to be honest with you, but that stuff matters a lot.
Yeah. On Graham Mertz, Billy Napier said he's earned the respect of players. He's earned the respect of the staff. You think about his journey last year, he shows up, a lot of unknowns, a lot of doubts, a lot of what's his role going to be, has no relationships with hardly anybody on the team. I think he started at a different place. It's like a rookie in the NFL or a free agent that goes to a new team, and now he's in year 2. He's earned the respect of his teammates on the field. Last year with his grit, his toughness, the way he competed, his production, he starts as a leader of this team. It's his team. He's doing a phenomenal job of leading from the front. This guy, he's pushing his team personally. He came back with a purpose. Really liked what I heard out of Graham Mertz, but definitely a lot of confidence going into this season. I mean, rewind this 365 days, and we had no idea what to expect out of.
It was a kid. It was a kid at Wisconsin who wasn't asked to throw the ball a lot, and when he did, it was typically picked off.
Right.
Yep.
So that's where we find ourselves. Let's see here. Cormani McClain, I know people might have gotten caught up in some of the Polkway stuff that he got kicked off the team, or just in general. He's arguably had a great last couple of days, couple of weeks. He's still a walk-on. Somebody asked the question at SEC Media Days. His response was he's doing fine. I think a lot of this has been blown out of proportion. I think he's a young player. Obviously, we're well aware of his history. Cormani's a local kid from Lakeland. He's got relationships with players on our team. We run a tight ship. There's structure, there's routine, there's discipline, there's accountability. It's hard these days. You're in the minority if you show up in June, much less the middle of June, because you're a couple weeks late. It is what it is. He had a great week so far this week. He's gained 10 pounds. He's learning expectations. He's learning culture. He's doing fine. He's going to be okay.
Yeah, I don't expect that he'll play a lot this year.
No.
He's gained 10 pounds, but I think he's still like 170 maybe.
I don't even think that matters. Like, size, I don't think matters with him.
They played him last year at Colorado at like 155, 6'1", 155.
He looked every bit of 150.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, everybody had the same thing with Travis Hunter. They kept saying how small he was. I'm just like, bro, how big do you want these guys? Like, look at NFL receivers and DBs. They're not huge guys. While he do got to put on size, I think it's more the intangible and the off the field stuff. He's just got to learn to be
just immature,
responsible. Yeah, he's immature, and he just got some more growing up to do. And hopefully he can get on the right track. But I don't expect him to play, even if we got a good secondary. I think we got some talent there, and guys that are accountable, guys that have their head on straight. So he puts himself behind them in the depth chart for several reasons. But I believe in the guys that we have on the roster to be a good secondary this year. So yeah, we'll see if how he goes through the fall and if he make it next year, and then we'll see how he plays out next year. And that's going to be a test for him as well. Like not being the man, like having to wait your turn. You're not in the spotlight, watching your friends play and, you know, cheering them on. That's going to be a test for him. It's not going to be easy to sit back and watch everybody else make plays or the lack thereof. And you got to sit there as a walk-on and earn the trust of the coaches.
Absolutely.
Especially if there's lack thereof. That's when you start getting feelings hurt. If the season goes south, well, why am I not playing?
Right. Yeah. Some other quotes. There's a lot that you can read on FloridaGators.com, or you can read on 3 about some of these quotes. I like this Shemar James comment about Ron Roberts. He said, Coach Roberts has brought a lot of experience and I would say personality to the room and to the unit as a whole. Coach Robert comes in every day, works to instill us to take it one day at a time and be intentional with our work. I know a lot of Gator fans are excited about what Ron Roberts can do to try to help turn around a very lackluster defense from last season. Nick, any other final thoughts from SEC Media Days?
Yeah, it was interesting. We kind of just stayed in. They had like holding rooms for the teams. We kind of just stayed there to work. Got to see Graham Mertz and Danny Warfel play against each other in EA college football. Just sat down, was like eating lunch with the guys. Talked with Montrell. He said he got asked about Trevor Etienne in every single room he went into. I'm sure he had his canned prepared answer ready to go, and just read the cue card. Next question, please. But yeah, I thought the guys that were picked to go represented Florida really well. Didn't give us a lot of bulletin board material.
I mean, best dress, man. Who had the best dress?
So Graham and Shemar went sockless, but Shemar was wearing loafers. Graham just forgot socks.
Okay.
Shemar forgot socks, so he went with no-show socks. I'm gonna go with Shemar. I liked the green with like the square pattern. I don't know if it was like a gray or purple. It was sharp. A green suit is a statement.
It is.
Yeah. Money year.
Yeah.
Money year. I'm excited to see Shemar James back healthy too, man. In our linebacker room, I am like super positive about the linebacker room. The more I think about it, I was just thinking about it yesterday. Like, I think those guys are gonna play different type of football, man. When do we start camp? That's my last question. I know I asked you during the week, Nick, and you didn't know. Have we found out when we start? What date?
Yeah, I think they report the 29th. Camp will start the 30th. It's always 30-ish days before the first game.
Okay.
If anybody's wondering what Shemar James looked like,
pull it up, Dan. My guy.
I like it.
Yeah. Money green, man.
I like it.
100%.
All right. To cap off SEC Media Days, Gators were voted to finish 12th in the SEC this season. Montrell Johnson was named to the second team preseason All-SEC team. Jason Marshall also on the second team. Third team, Jeremy Crawshaw at punter and Trey Smack at kicker. Any surprises of names left off?
My dog, Jeremy Crawshaw. He
just
doesn't
literally listed.
He does not punt enough, but he should be first team All-SEC punter. He's been number 2 and number 4 in the nation in net punting yards, but they don't punt enough, so I can't even vote for him when my Ray Guy vote comes up. I think Eugene Wilson's another guy, but when I went back and looked at this, the stats, I mean, it's like 8.3 yards per catch. It's like 32nd, tied for 32nd in the SEC last year. So I guess maybe that makes sense, but I think the potential is there. He's a guy who I would expect to be on the list postseason after being left off preseason.
I think he's a guy. I think Elijah Badger could be a guy that ends up on the list. I think Shemar James could be a guy that ends up on the list towards the end of the season as well. Maybe somebody on the defensive line.
I got Caden Daniels penciled in as a freshman All-American as well. Like, I think he has a very good season. A couple more linebacker capabilities. DB is going to be interesting with the